Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike with smartoptiontrading.com. It is the end of December, and tonight I'm going to give you a video recapping my 2020 outperform names. And at the bottom, there'll be a link if you're interested in joining me for my 2021 names as well. If you're interested in learning more, there'll be a link there in the video, and there'll be also be a banner here on top of the website, or you can sign up here for live trading alerts at smartoptiontrading.com. I hope you guys have all had a great holiday season so far. We have less than a week to go to New Year's. It was a great Christmas. So with that said, let's dive right in because there's quite a bit to go through here. I don't want to keep all of your time. One of the things I talked about this year was the IWM's ability to outperform if it took out the key levels here, which was roughly around this 169. Ultimately, the IWM did perform, but it lagged most of the year. And when the Qs and the SPY hit all-time highs, the IWM is just starting to really just break out of its shell here and starting to move back up. So this did work, but we'll call this one a quasi work here. It worked okay. It's had a great run into the end of the year, making up for all the pain it put everybody through. But it took them a while to rotate into the value names, so we'll go with that. Let's jump into the semis. One of my outperform names was Xlink. Xlink, we talked about it possibly getting up to a target 3. It was all the way up, by the way, at the 120 level. Xlink, you can see here, bought out, worked, overperformed all the way up to 155 area. Strong support. The buy area listed on this one was down at 90. Obviously, came back. It gave that entrance right here after the dip on the pandemic and moved nicely. So that one obviously very well outperformed. Another one in the semi space I liked a lot this year was Micron. I got to tell you, Micron gave me fits all year long and a lot of other people. I'll consider this one to be an outperform name with everything going on in the DRAM space. And the truth is, it just took forever. One of them is support 2, which was all the way up here in the at the 44 level. It broke below that, and it took it forever to take it back. In fact, retested it later in August and basically just floundered around. And all of a sudden, it went and took off much later this year, outperforming, where it took out some of the key levels and now is just $20 from all-time highs. We'll have another look at this one again in 2021. But this worked, but it was not an easy trade, and certainly it took time. That said, once it took out key levels, the 51 area, this one really started to get going. I'm going to tell you right now, energy was just a waste. Energy did not work. The pandemic killed any hope in this sector. So when I talked about energy returning and getting a buy here, that was just poor timing with the pandemic, and none of these plays worked. Oxy left for a wasteland, liked it to move up to 44 and then 48. Obviously, pandemic came along, killed this name. The merger with Endako could not have come for a worse time for this name. Wondering if this one's even going to be able to survive at this point. The other one I had on here was Rig. Again, nobody's drilling for oil at this point. So Rig absolutely did not perform well. This one, I liked it for a move, let's call it up into the 8 areas. And while it was strong here at the beginning of the year and up in the area where it could have done it, nobody's drilling. Oil exploration's off. So, again, this one didn't work. And the last one was CVX. Why CVX? Because it has that huge dividend. CVX held in better than the rest of the names, but again, still playing that dividend, but did not perform. So again, we're putting all these on the did not work and not even close to working list at this point. All right, going forward, we looked at Teva. This is another name, did not perform well this year. Teva, I liked it. Why did I like Teva? Because I figure with Buffett still in it and this name coming off the lows, it could work. Now, did it not work? No, it did not work. The buy area was down here around the 650 area, the 6 to 7. And ultimately, I thought it can go up and test this gap it has up at the 13 area. Did it? Yes, it did go up and it did test that gap, and that was the first target areas on it. So it did hit the first targets off there, but it was a single. It was a solid single, but did not really outperform the markets and still weak here. So that was okay. And then we get to some home runs. Square, love Square off the 60 area. Why did I like it off the 60 area? It had big long-term trend support. Obviously, got caught up in the pandemic, took that back. Once it took that back out, we had a high target on this one of only $83. Well, it's good to be wrong, but wrong in a bad way. Took out that area, went to 100, then went all the way up here to 245. This was just a massive winner all year long. This was one of the names I thought could really just outperform. Nobody realized at the time when the pandemic hadn't hit yet what this thing was truly capable of. So we'll put that one as a credible win into boat. Called out Baidu. Baidu worked, then it didn't work, then it worked again. And let's just be upfront and honest here how this one worked. Baidu on the open of last year popped up and hit my target one of the 140, target one and above. It had a target one at 135 as it pushed into the gap. It actually pushed all the way up and made a nice trade up to the 148 area before the pandemic came and it fell apart. Target two was filling that gap up to 152, which it finally did when it broke about here, right? It got all the way up to, well, finally took out the target two, and then it just got wicked wild with this big push that we've seen now up to the 200 area. And that 200 area for it is very, very, closing in on the all-time highs, which were up around 280, 295 area. So a nice big push in Baidu in the China space. That one worked multiple times. That was a great one. GE this year. How did GE work out? Well, GE was starting to work great, and then the pandemic hit and all the things there. So I will tell you, I am been long from GD up here in the 13s. I have bought more on the way down. I'm actually back to just about even on it here. And this name was just caught up in everything. And we're going to talk about more of that in 2021 as well. But caught up in the pandemic and the turnaround play, and specifically with the Max grounded, that was one of the big catalysts for GE. And with the Max staying grounded, they did not get that revenue that we was hoping to get from them. So it never, it hit the target of 1150, but never ever was able to get up to, sorry, it hit the target one of 13, but was never able to get to target two of 1450 and then target three of 16. So it gave a quick trade that was good for win the target one if you were smart enough to take it and sell it from the entrance of a break of 1150. Otherwise, it was not so great. Amazon, talked about this one last year, saying I like how it was holding the 100-day on the five-year weekly chart, and that it had this big move to make if it can break above the 4900 area. And once it did that, it took out that 4900 area. You can see that this name just took, not 4900, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong 1900 area. Once it took that out here on the open, right, it took that out, it pushed up through the gap and went to my target one of 19, sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this on the other screen, 1960. And then once it got through there, I said the next target would be the 2020. Well, not only did it take out 2020, it just completely outperformed and all the way up to this 3,500 area. So just a massive move on Amazon. That was a great call. It obviously helped by what took place with the pandemic, but some things happen. Boeing never triggered. So I had Boeing on my list last year, and I said there was one major caveat. You had to have MAX recertification. Obviously, the pandemic hit. The MAX got recertified down here, and it gave a trade, but there was really no trade and no chance to hit the targets with this one. So, that was a trade nobody ever should have gotten themselves in. Then we go over to gold, and I really loved the miners last year and gold. I thought these things could run last year. And for gold and GDX, I thought target one on GDX would be up around the 3050 area, and then I thought it can really just rage. And you can see here after we came back, it just took that out, took out target one right here. It gave a trade pre-pandemic, took it out again here into this area, and then after that, it pushed all the way up to the 45 level. So GDX all-time highs was a great move there. Kraft Heinz was a sneaky play. This was not as easy as I would have liked it to have been, but my target one on this was the 34 area, and I liked trying to buy it. This one off of the, either a break above 33 or a hold of the 30 area. And that gave a couple different trades on that last year. You can see this move up, came off the lows, took back 30, gave a nice trade up into the 34 area, but that's where unfortunately where it kind of just petered out. 36 actually hit the gap. It has a huge gap there, and it just never was able to push into it as it's pushing back here. That one worked, but you had to be quick. You had to, again, always taking profits. Electronic Arts was another name I loved. I loved this thing over the 104 area. I thought this one could move. A buy over 102 would be great, and then it could break out. And boy, did this break out with a move all the way up to 146. And it outperformed. My target was 137.50. It hit 146. That was another fabulous one that played out this year. Speaking of that, for people who love copper, FCX, another one that I really like this year coming in, especially if you can buy it off the 12 area. Certainly it gave the dip, it gave the buy in the 12 range right here after the post-pandemic. The first target on that one was just a little bit above 1450. And then you can see the next target on that one was 1750, and then the last target Oh, it was all the way up around 1950, and this thing outperformed all three all the way up to the 25 area. So another monstrous move on that one. And there was some great wins. A couple names that we're going to talk about that, I talked about but didn't put on the list. Qualcomm, massive move on this one. Been a great year for the semis. Twitter, another one that I put on the list as names you can watch. We'll see where they go. These worked really nicely as well. JD was on that list. JD, look at this move this year to new all-time highs. Win and the casinos, two of the ones that did not work with the pandemic as well. So, if you're interested in what I'm doing here and interested on my list, I have about 20 something names on the list this year. We go over each sector. We talk about the SPY in general, the IWM, the VIX. We talk about sectors like energy and the banks and retail a little bit and biotech. And I come up with names I believe can outperform. And if you're interested in this, it's $99, or this is special if you want to sign up for my service. And you can get that description below. I hope everybody's had a great holiday season, and I'll catch you guys all shortly.